Oh, how I wish I was in Peoria, Peoria tonight. Oh, how I miss the mud in Peoria, Peoria tonight.
What sort of animal died for those shoes?
A canvas one.
Oh, they have holes like my gloves. Do you like my shoes?
I do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Welcome, I'm Elizabeth Trefzger. My father was a shoemaker. And so I grew up noticing what people wear on their feet. You know, you can tell a lot about a person by their footwear. Are they whimsical or practical? Perhaps they don't have as much money as the rest of the outfit might indicate. Are they one who loves color or something more dull? It's a lot of things can be gleaned from looking at someone's shoes. However, in my early days, I thought these were the important things, the things that really mattered. But after being married to Anton Trefzger for 40 years, I have to tell you, the important things of life are not what we wear on our feet. In fact, they're not even about making a living, although you probably have heard that one branch of the Trefzger family made their living as bakers for over 130 years here in Peoria. Now, it's not even about making a living, it really is about making a life. I was born and raised in Peoria. Now, that was very unusual in my day. See, most people were coming here from somewhere else. How many of you were born and raised in Peoria? Oh, now how many of you came here from somewhere else? Oh, things haven't changed at all. Oh, dear. Well, I would love to tell you that my early years were filled with happiness and sunshine and carefree living, but in actual fact, I endured a very, very difficult time period in my life when I was young. Now, I'm not comfortable going into all of the details, but let me just tell you this. Anton Trefzger was a remarkable man. You see, when I met him, I had a 3-year-old daughter named Elizabeth. Now, most men wouldn't want anything to do with a woman in that situation, but Anton didn't care. Anton didn't care what people said. He was very unique. Now, when you hear Trefzger, you probably think of Simon Trefzger. Simon Trefzger, who started Trefzger's Bakery. Anton and Simon were brothers, part of the big Trefzger family that came from Baden, Germany. Under the careful and precious guidance of Papa Simon, who insisted on things being a certain way at all times, the boys grew up learning they each had to learn a trade. And so Papa Simon was a baker, and he taught his son Simon to be a baker, but the other boys had different trades. And so there was a shoemaker and a potter and a woodworker, and my husband, Anton, he was a plasterer. Now, the Trefzger family was a very, very close family. Long hours were spent learning a trade and talking about world affairs and singing German songs on the porch. In fact, I'm very certain that if the political situation hadn't been quite so volatile in Germany, they never would have left. But it was very unstable, and there was unemployment. There was even a military coup in 1848. And to contrast those experiences with the stories they would share on the porch at night about America. America with wide open land and unlimited opportunity. America where a person could go and start a fresh life. You see, cousin Catherine Trefzger and her husband, Meinrad Berger, had gone to America and started a new life. So plans were made with the blessing of Papa Simon, and the first step that was required was they needed to receive a permit from the Grand Duke Leopold. You were not permitted to just leave the country. You had to have a permit. So the permit was received, and then in very short order, they must pack their belongings, say their goodbyes, and head down to the docks. Anton spoke often of how difficult that time was, because as he said goodbye to his family, to his mother and father, he knew he probably would never see them again. So, March 30th, 1855, with one small suitcase each, and a ticket for steerage, because that's all they could afford for the 30-day trip, 6 Trefzgers boarded the boat for America. There was Anton, his older sister Marie, younger brother Simon, and his wife and 2 children. they were headed for the excitement center of the USA, the capital of all things industrial, Cincinnati, Ohio. You see, that's where Cousin Catherine had gone. And so that's where they were told, with Papa Simon's blessing, that they must go. But when they arrived, Simon heard that there were Anton heard there were more opportunities for plasterers in St. Louis. So he left the group and moved on to St. Louis. And guess what? When he got to St. Louis, he found not only wonderful employment opportunities, but a large, thriving German community, which he loved. Now, he told me some of the stories of the mischief that these friends of his got into with him. One time, he and several of his German friends decided, well, they should take a boat tour down the Illinois and Mississippi rivers. So they all purchased their ticket for what they thought would be a short tour. And the final destination was to be Spring Bay. But along the way, they made several stops. And when they arrived in Peoria, well, they just fell in love with this bustling city. And you know what? They never got back on the boat. They stayed here. Now, someone who was born and raised in Peoria, I find that rather impulsive, don't you? My goodness. But I really cannot complain, because it was that decision that brought Anton to me. Anton and I were married and had 8 more children, 5 more boys and 3 more girls. Anton was a wonderful father. He had so much zest and excitement about him. He loved to teach the children the value of working hard and of being kind. And he would sit with them on the porch and teach them his wonderful German songs. Our 2 oldest sons, Frank and Robert, I think sometimes they were making fun of their papa because they liked to sing the songs, but they'd sing them much boisterous. May I sing it for you? It's in German, and I only speak a little German, so please forgive me if I miss a little bit. Mein Vater war ein Wandersmann, und mir riecht Stau in Blut. Und die, 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 und Schwenker meinen Hut. You know this part? Valerie, Valera, Valerie, Valera, Valerie, Valera, und Schwenker meinen Hut. Well, one day, our children, who were learning, of course, in English at school, came home and said, Papa, we know your song in English. I love to go a-wandering along the mountain track, and as I go, I love to sing my knapsack on my back. Do you know this part? Valerie, Valera, Valerie, Valera, Valerie, Valera, my knapsack on my back. Thank you. You sing very well. Anton was also very involved in the Peoria community. He believed it was very important to serve in the community. And so he was a firefighter for many years in the Peoria New No. 4 firehouse. One day, Anton came home so excited. Elizabeth, he said, guess what I heard today? There's a bakery in town that's looking to hire a baker. Well, he sent word straight away to his brother Simon, who was still in Ohio. Well, can you believe this? Simon had been unable to find work as a baker, and he was working on the docks in Cincinnati. Isn't that a crime? Simon Trefzger working the docks? Well, the moment they got word, he and his wife and children came straight away to Peoria, and before we knew it, they were living here in town. Now, Simon Trefzger worked for a very short time for another bakery, but in 1861, he opened his own bakery, Trefzger's Bakery. Simon Trefzger was a wonderful baker, and I must tell you, it is a delight to have a baker in the family. You see, every time there was a birthday, anniversary, special occasion, I knew Simon would come with the best breads and cakes and pies. Of course, when the events were at my home, everybody did spend time admiring my beautifully plastered walls. Now, Simon not only ran his bakery and had his normal clientele that came in, he also was awarded the contract to provide all of the bakery items for all of the troops, the Union troops surrounded in the surrounding area around Peoria. This was a 7-day-a-week endeavor, and he did that for the entire duration of the war. So I must tell you, in 1865, when the war ended, Simon Trefzger was exhausted. Exhausted. Not only that, he had developed sores on his legs, and they would not heal. Well, he remembered a place back in Germany, in Baden, with healing pools. And so he did something so surprising. He left Trefzger's Bakery in the care of 2 employees, And he and his wife, and by now 5 children, went back to Germany. Unfortunately, his timing was terrible. While he was there, the Franco-Prussian War broke out, and they could not leave for 7 years. When they did come back to Peoria, Simon was looking forward to seeing how his bakery was operating, only to find the doors locked and the employees gone. Now, for many people, that might be the end of your dream, but not if your last name is Trefzger. No. Within a year, Simon had reopened the bakery on Fulton, and he and his wife and children lived upstairs and ran the bakery downstairs. Now, if you've lived in Peoria very long, you've probably heard of Trefzger's Bakery. How many have been to Trefzger's Bakery? Oh, wonderful. How many of you have been able to go in and buy something without standing in line? Aha! It's worth the wait. Well, Trefzger's has actually had 3 locations over the years. The first was on Fulton, the second was on Monroe and Main, and then the third is the current location on Prospect Road. Ugh. Trefzger's has always been well known for thumbprint cookies and orange chiffon cake, and that wonderful sweet cinnamon bread that looks like dinosaur toes. Do you know the one I mean? Oh. Well, there's a sweetness and a warmth about the Trefzger name, but there's also kind of an excellence and a goodness and a high standards that the Trefzgers always aimed for. I must tell you that some of our children went on to do some wonderful things because of that excellence, that high standards. Our son Frank became president of the Illinois National Bank of Peoria. And our son Albert became president of Ott & Company, which is a grocery wholesaler. And our grandson, Emil Trefzger, was the international typewriting champion. Fingers of fire! But perhaps the Trefzger that best exemplifies the values we were trying to instill in our children was Emily, our daughter Emily Trefzger. When I passed away in 1894, she insisted that Anton come and live with them. And so for the next 18 years, she looked after her papa. You see, she had learned from her family, as Anton had learned from his, that it's not just about making a living, it is about making a life. Thank you.